Well, Kevin, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here on the podcast. And
Thanks for having me.
So you're the president of Wilderness Athlete. Is that the title you go by? Is there a chair with
Something like that. We've had like numerous floating titles in our company for so long. I started from the bottom as like customer service packing boxes as like the only employee. So, I was like directing marketer for a while, then communications and media person, stuff like that. But I'm probably the most senior employee other than my wife, who's the CEO. But we kind of started it, this team sort of together, just her and I. But if you want to say president, I won't stop you.
Yeah, I like it. And she's out of earshot, you said, so it should be completely fine.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
Now, talk to me. I believe you guys were founded in 2004. Is that right?
Yeah. Exactly.
2004. And what was kind of the mission behind it? Because for those of you who don't know what Wilderness Athlete is, they are a supplement and health company. You can get your proteins and your pre-workouts and also different things for adventures there. But it's kind of geared towards the outdoorsman and the outdoors life. So what was the inspiration for that, and kind of how did you get started?
Yeah, so I did not found the company, nor did my wife. It was founded in 2004 by Mark Paulson, who spent years in professional strength and conditioning, various Olympic athletes, collegiate teams, some professional teams. And, in 2004, which, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was quite a ways away when it came to, supplements and what the market was doing for outdoorsmen out there. He saw a lot of, your typical sports nutrition products out there catering to the football, basketball athletes, your kind of traditional between the lines guys. But he himself was an avid outdoorsman, very passionate elk hunter, fisherman, just loved the outdoors, and realized, this is like an extremely physical event, like what I do and what a lot of my friends do. And there really isn't anybody out there giving the support, the nutritional aid, and kind of the guidance that these other sports give to their athletes. So, that was where that name was born. Was you have your traditional athletes, and he created a brand based on the wilderness athlete. So really just targeting, hardcore people that really love to get in the outdoors, push their limits, test their limits, and that's really where it started. Just making really incredible products with some of the best relationships that he had in the sports nutrition and physiological side of things, just with his career, bringing that to the table for the best supplements he could make at the time, and we're still doing that for outdoorsmen and women.
There's something called farmer strength, and a guy that we hunt with all the time. His name's Ray Hoodie, and Ray is like this guy. How old do you think Ray is? He's probably like 45, something like 48, something like that. But he's the epitome of the wilderness athlete. This guy can go and go and go and go. And, he doesn't look like a football player or a baseball player or something like that, but he's stronger than anyone you know. You would not want to get in a scrap with him. And
I know guys like that.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, what we do, especially in these really rough backcountry hunts and stuff like that, it takes such athleticism. It's like there's a couple memes you'll see too. It's like everyone thinks they're in shape until they got to drag a deer a couple miles. You know what I mean? And what goes into that and building up to that. So I definitely, as someone, I've worked out, 5 days a week since I graduated high school, and I never stopped and love it, and also very avid in the outdoors. So the mesh of the relationship was really easy for us to figure out. But from a daily health standpoint too, you guys don't just cover, the proteins and the pre-workouts and stuff like that. A product off the cuff that I wanted to mention too, this is something for a lot of people that we've actually had people write into us asking about altitude sickness. So you guys have a product specifically made for that you take in the lead up to going to high altitude. Will you just hit on that for a little bit, like the science behind what that is?
Sure. Yeah. It's intended for that lead up and during, your high altitude adventures, hunts, skiing trips, backpacking trips, what have you. And it's really intended for the guys who don't live at altitude. They live along the coast at sea level or 1,000 feet,
Michigan,
whatever. Yep. Yeah, I feel you. I was born and raised in California, and I live here now in Phoenix, and I'm 1,200 feet. So really not much to speak of. And, occasionally in the fall we get a chance to go hunt 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 feet, and that can be pretty dramatic. That environment can be pretty hard on the body. The limited amount of oxygen density that's in that environment. So your body goes through a ton of stress, really adapting to that. And as you know, when you're in that type of environment, when you're on a hunt, you're do whatever you're doing, you're also putting a lot of demands on your body too. It's not like you're just sitting around, the campfire,
Right.
doing nothing. So the product Altitude Advantage is really designed to help acclimate your body as quickly as possible. The way I kind of liken it to folks is, if you were to go up to 10,000 feet elevation and spend 2 weeks up there, regardless of who you are, eventually, our bodies are pretty impressive. Eventually, you're going to acclimate. You're going to feel more normal every day. You're not going to have the hypoxic cramps. You're not going to feel headaches. You're not going to feel nauseous. And some people don't at all. Some people are just blessed with, cellular retention, that they can maintain cellular oxygen levels at a level that they don't really deal with altitude sickness. But it's really difficult to tell who that's going to be. And it's not even like,
It doesn't have to
one
do with health.
time.
Yeah, it's not what
No,
you think. You're like, oh, I'm in good shape. It won't
no,
be me. It's like, no, pal. You got
yeah,
no clue if
yeah,
it's you. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it doesn't even happen. It's not all the same either. Like I've talked to guys who, they're like, oh, I've been hunting the same place at 8,500 feet for years and I'm fine. And then they go up another time and altitude sickness gets them. And it's really a moving target. So altitude advantage is really, it's just a great insurance policy. You start taking it 5 days prior to ascending to that type of elevation. You take a maintaining dose while you're up there. And really, it's just going to give you the best odds possible at feeling your best when you need it the most. So we use like vitamin C, which is really helpful with bringing some, fluids to your tissues. And hypoxia is one of the main effects that a lot of folks suffer from. And that can, I mean, hypoxia is just a fancy way of saying, lack of oxygen. But, really what people experience there is like cramped muscles, stiff muscles. The other main thing is go-to koala extract we use in there, and there's another one I'm kind of drawing a blank
What
that
was
really does help.
what was the
I'm sorry.
extract?
What was that? Sounded like
I think it's go-to koala extract. Let me just pull it up so I don't misspeak.
Yeah.
I know it does sound weird. We use a bunch of different adaptogenic herbs, and
What does that word mean?
adaptogenic herbs.
Mm-hmm.
It means exactly what it sounds like. It helps your body adapt. It's an adaptogen. So like if you look up what is an adaptogen, there's a lot of different things that are adaptogens. I mean, really they're usually high in antioxidants. They have unique properties, a lot of them, that help your body, overcome some of those unique struggles of environmental stress. I'm drawing a little bit of blank, but let me just pull it up here. So golden root extract, ginkgo biloba is the main one. Ginkgo biloba extract. If you look up some scientific studies and research there, it is proven to increase your red blood cell count, and that itself is, your red blood cells are your main transporter of oxygen in your blood system. So that plays a pretty big role. But if you were to just look up ginkgo biloba, there's a lot of different benefits to it. Adaptogens have like a ton of different benefits, reducing stress, reducing blood pressure. If you look at across the board of a lot of our products, we use a lot of different adaptogenic herbs that have a lot of ubiquitous benefits to them.
That's so interesting. My very first elk hunt was in Colorado, is in Telluride. So we went up from the trailhead there, and I mean, I think we were at over 10,000 feet. I know we were significantly higher than Denver. And you see like the football players, like when Denver plays anybody, all the time they'll be sitting on the sideline. They call it Mile High Stadium. They'll be sitting on the sidelines in between football, and they'll be breathing. They'll have pure oxygen on them to try and get back to normal a little bit. It's because the stress of what's going on. But our pack's already pretty heavy, and I just don't see us bringing up the oxygen tank. So that's not that. But when I did the hunt, the way I described it is like I was kind of probably I was only 24, so I had a little bit of an ego going on it where I was like, I'll be fine.
Oh yeah,
I'm in great shape. I remember walking like up the beginning of the trailhead, and it was maybe like a half mile. I remember my buddy looking back at me and goes, "You good?" I was like, man, I can feel in my head, my temple, I can feel my blood pumping. And
Your pulse.
you're like, I'm breathing fine. Like, it's not a suffocation feeling. I'm breathing fine, but I'm not getting satisfaction from it. Like nothing, like I'm not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I'm
Right.
not getting
Right.
what I need from it. And your product was obviously in future hunts very beneficial in helping curve that and deal with that.
Hmm.
Because if you are going to go out at altitude, and this is another thing too, I had a friend that did a ski trip, and it was my buddy from the wedding, Cody.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he was up, and like the first day, he'd been up 100 times. You know, he snowboards all the time, and he got destroyed the one time. I had to go to the hospital. Had to go to the hospital. You know, and it, like you said,
Yeah.
it's a moving target. You're like, oh, I don't get altitude sickness. That's not a thing. That's like saying I don't get the flu. Well, you might eventually.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Yeah. Right.
So to be prepared for that, that was a product that I wanted to hit on because it was so important. Because it's just scientifically it's interesting and it can sneak up on anybody.
If this means anything, at 12,000 feet in a plane, you're required by law to have oxygen. So I mean, if you're sitting around 8,000-9,000, you're gonna feel the effects of it.
It's serious business.
I have another question, and it might be lightly controversial. Would you guys consider like your products as a company more holistic rather than like chemical based? Because I know there seems to be sort of a movement towards all natural ways to supplement your body rather than just ingesting chemical from the pharmacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the term holistic is it's a difficult term to apply. I mean, but in the formulation of everything we do, that is definitely a priority. And an example would be, and it was funny, I was just, my wife and I were talking about this last night because she's pregnant, and so we're very conscious about everything she's putting into her body, and what's going to be safest and give the best result. But as it relates to like our products, really one of the main things, and this is all owed to like our formulator, he's a brilliant man, and he's been behind some of the best products, not even just with our company, but before our company and in the nutrition industry for a long, long time. We're not looking at just to give you a magic pill and say, this is going to give you this result. There's a lot of ways to do that. And the nature of supplements as a whole it tends to be to supplement your body's ability to do things and to create certain energies, to create, to recover, to support activity. We're typically looking at the most effective and efficient ways and healthful ways over the long haul to give your body the right precursors to do some of this stuff itself. With every action, there's a reaction. So, like, for example, melatonin is something that a lot of people in this country are extremely used to using when they have trouble sleeping. It's a pretty common over-the-counter sleep aid. You start taking, supplemental melatonin, you're severely hindering your body's ability to create it itself. It realizes it doesn't really need to. It doesn't need to put energy into the neurological systems that create melatonin. So then you kind of become a bit handicapped and somewhat, slave to that supplement in order to get that quality restorative sleep. So when we developed a sleep aid, which is a truly nootropic, and nootropic is really just, anything that improves your motor functions and your brain function, and that's a lot of different things. But we made a sleep aid void of melatonin because that's a slippery slope. We wanted to deliver things that really helps your body relax, helps get your body prepared, and sets you up for the best possible sleep. Now, there's still a whole lot of things you need to do and bring to the table. Like we say that all the time. Like, these aren't magic pills. You can't just take this and eat like shit and behave like a kid and get the best results. You still need to do your part. There's a lot of behavioral things that are very important with anything, with any diet, with any muscle building routine, with any, sleep routine. But holistic, we do use a lot of herbs. We use a lot of botanicals because there's a ton of benefits to them. There's a ton of research that goes back, thousands and thousands of years from ancient civilizations that use these things because it was what was at their disposal. The modern society we live in now doesn't tend to look at those things because there's not as much money in it. It's a lot easier to make people grab for the pills for the quick fix than it is to kind of give them the tools that get them headed in the right direction, give them the motivation and give them the foundation. But that's, you still got to do your part too. So, I mean, I guess the short answer to your question is yes. Supplements as a whole tend to be more holistically minded because, the opposite of supplements really is medicine. It's
Right.
synthetic type stuff.
No, I find that so interesting because I've had a similar thought on the melatonin thing. Is I never wanted to take it because it's like similar to taking steroids, where you inject testosterone, your body quits making it on its own, and that's the big problem with them, right? And I find it interesting that you guys have gone out of your way to try and prevent that issue. When you talk about all these different herbs and these different things that grow all over the world, can you talk a little bit about your sourcing and how you guys what's the quality of the herbs? Like how do you gauge that, and how did you from adding to the formulas?
Yeah. So I think the thing to understand, and actually it's a great question because there's a ton of misinformation and then just lack of information about the supplement industry as a whole that's out there.
It's terrifying because and then you read on there and like you go to buy a protein thing and they're like, oh, that's got a carcinogen in it. This has got that in it. Oh, that's not even real. And then you're reading this stuff isn't approved by this. It's not approved by that. You don't know. I guess if there was something from this question that I was hoping to get was sort of a At Ease, which is another product, but another to give people a little bit of ease that they know when they're ingesting Wilderness Athlete products that they're actually getting what it says and they're getting the benefits that you're talking about. So that's kind of why I asked it. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No. You're totally fine. It's a good question because supplement companies come and go like the wind. They're a dime a dozen. It's a low barrier of entry type of industry. It doesn't take a ton of capital to get a supplement company started. So like if I'm just, Joe Schmo from the street trying to make a decision out there with what is the best product and the best company that I can trust, the things that I would want to look at are, who are the people behind it? How long have they been in business? Those are some of the things that right away, right up front, you should be able to identify. We have over 100 years of clinical research, human study lab experience in the people that are on our research and formulations board. These people have a ton to lose. The chair of our board, Dr. Harry Preuss, he's a professor at Georgetown Medical, and he has currently published a ton of research, related to COVID and some pretty cutting edge stuff about insulin sensitizers and some really fascinating stuff. So these people aren't putting their names behind products that aren't legitimate and that are at risk. So one of the things also to know, anytime you're looking at any supplement company, the industry as a whole is rampant with white label products. And what I mean by white label products is, let's say Kyle, you and me, we just feel like we want to start our own supplement company called Greenway Outdoors, and
good name.
Name. Yeah. It's already got some equity
traction
in it. It's already got some traction. But we don't know a lick about formulation. It's just you and I. But we have a brand. We've got a graphic designer. We know how to market. We know how to get our name out there and grow a brand, but we don't really know much about nutrition or physiological needs or any of that stuff. There are a lot of ways for us to go about that and build a very successful brand and put our label and our logo on a pre-existing formula of powders and pills that really are no more unique than what you can find at GNC or Walmart with an upcharge of 40 to 50% and some sexy marketing. That's very common, like all over the
That is the supplement industry. That is it.
It is the supplement industry. Yeah. What separates us and what I think people ought to pay attention to is what companies are paying attention to, like the most current critical research that are being done about the vitamins that your body needs, the minerals we're deficient in as a country, maybe soil depletion as a country, and what we're not getting from our vegetables these days. There's the scientific community, irrelevant to nutrition, is constantly diving into this stuff, to discover how much deficiency we have as a nation with vitamin D, magnesium needs, all these things.
We found out the D one real recent.
Yeah, exactly. And funny enough, not to toot our horn, but 2 years prior to that research coming out, 3 years or 4 years prior to that, we tripled the amount of vitamin D in our high performance multivitamin because there was some very compelling research that our team was made aware of and validated and believed in that showed, as a country, especially men, because of male prostate needs, we are just vastly deficient in vitamin D. So that was irrelevant to
That was
COVID or any of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, way so.
And for those of you who are kind of missing his point on that, is one of the main supplement things, regardless of how you feel about COVID. I know how we feel about it, but one of the main things that they were telling everybody, and it was universally accepted across both sides of the aisle on the whole thing, was vitamin D was super deficient, and that would help with COVID. So they were all of a sudden putting everybody on it. So what he's saying is they saw that we were already deficient 4 years before everyone decided it was a catastrophe, and you were already putting it in your stuff, which is pretty awesome. And it also shows that you've got your thumb on what's going on, and you're looking for innovative ways. Talking about, you look at they show these girls in thongs to sell their products, and then you know what I mean? That's what it is. Meanwhile, they're looking at soil samples to see if we're deficient in different things, what we're not getting from our vegetables. So that kind of
and ahead of the trend.
And ahead of it, 4 years ahead.
I guess what it boils down to, in a nutshell, because I know that was a bit long-winded for what you asked, but in a nutshell, what it comes down to is we have some incredible people behind our companies that have some of the best relationships with sourcing the right ingredients. Now, any nutrition company, your ingredients are going to come from all over the world, especially when you use botanicals and herbs and some rare things like we do. They come from all over the world. And so a high degree of testing and purity is needed. And the lab that we have is second to none. It's a gold standard lab that we've been working with since, for all 18 years of this company's existence. And, that's really what it comes down to is the trust you can have in a company like ours because of that long-standing, bar of quality that we've stood behind.
So basically what happens is you guys go out, you're like, okay, we want to make this supplement. Science says, based on this research and all this stuff going on, this is what needs to go into it to help accomplish this goal. Now we got to go out and get all these different ingredients to do that. So you go to all these different sources. Then it comes to your laboratory. That's the gold standard. Then you guys test all the ingredients to make sure they are pure, they are what they are. That way you can put your stamp of approval on it once you mix those things together and turn it into a pill or a powder or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the only component to that I think I missed was the testing that we do, like the lab rats that we do on our side. We put these products through the paces in the gym, on the trail, in the mountains before we come to market with it. Which is, I think, something that is probably missing from a lot of companies too, because they're just so eager to take whatever they got to market, and hopefully it works. Hopefully it actually does do what it says it does. But we're pretty diligent with that because it's a lot easier to put in the work up front on making sure we believe in this product. We know the results that we ourselves have felt and seen, versus making all the promises in the world about how this is going to help you go further, stronger, faster, feel better, get leaner, get stronger. But, then we got to answer the questions that, it's not. So that's something that we take pride in too.
Okay.
I got one.
Go ahead, Ray.
You had kind of spoke on melatonin and people become dependent on it and it ends up nearly being useless for these people. Are there any other supplements or vitamins that you see people taking and you're like, I don't know about that. You should be careful with it.
Well, I guess one thing, the caveat to that, I would say, is melatonin does have its necessary uses. I mean, it's absolutely a good tool from time to time in limited amounts with the right approach. The problem is the way we typically are as a society is we find something that works, and that's just what we use all the time. We go full bore. It's kind of the American way. So I don't want melatonin to be like, we just think it's the worst.
Yeah.
It can definitely be necessary. Like you're covered from jet lag, or you just got life and you got to get some frickin' sleep. And sometimes that's just the quickest way there. So that's true. But, as far as other things like that, I honestly, and I know this is probably an obvious one, but sugar, man. And sugar is the biggest thing that our company has. We have an axe to grind about it. And the industry around sugar, the overuse of it. I mean, everywhere in our diet. Everything we eat and drink is laden with. It's covered in sugar. So we try to minimize the sugar volume in our products as much as possible because there are just a very long list from inflammation to energy cycles to the aging of cells to just obesity. All of these things can be tied to excessive amounts of simple carbs, which is typically sugar in our diet. Beyond that, there isn't something that really I think has a target on its back that I see like abused. And caffeine can be abused pretty frequently. But I mean, dude,
that's my
I'm like
weakness.
sometimes I'm with you. I'm sometimes like a 300 milligram day guy but
Dang.
there's a lot of studies about it too that are kind of controversial, and typically where people get in trouble with caffeine is the other things that are accompanying it, is like the sugar, the other synthetic shit in it. But there are Australia. I just heard a thing yesterday. Now I don't know the validity of this, but I heard yesterday that Australia just concluded like a pretty long research study about how less likely people are to die from. I think I can't remember what the causes were. It was from there's a certain correlation between drinking more caffeine, more coffee, and your likelihood of dying from like heart failure or something like that. And what it tends to be is because people who drink caffeine, they're more active. They typically eat less shitty food. They're healthy in other ways too. So that one's controversial, but sugar is that's the worst thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Trust isn't built in a day. It's built over time. The early hours and the late nights. It's built by doing the work and pushing the limits every day. Because the promises we make are the promises we were built to keep.
The Greenway Outdoors is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year for the third year in a row, and by Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Tracker Boats, fish the finest, and by these other fine sponsors. If you'd like to help support the Greenway Outdoors, please like and comment on this podcast and subscribe to all of our channels.
Yeah.
Are there any other foods in your day-to-day diet where you're just like, that's a no-no in this household?
I have been
Right now, lunch meat, right? Not allowed to have lunch meat with a pregnant wife.
Yeah.
I think that's on the list.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the things I can't
I've been
have?
hearing more and more that lunch meat, like if you're looking at the ingredients, there should be 2 ingredients in it. Anything more than that, just don't even look at it.
Yeah.
It's just terrible for you.
They won't let pregnant women eat it. That's one of the things on the list.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's definitely some mixed feelings about that out there, and we haven't shied away from it a ton. We haven't shied away from a lot of things, like obviously like alcohol and certain raw fish and stuff like that. You kind of want to keep at arm's length, but I'm a big believer, irrelevant to my wife's pregnancy and how that's kind of impacted like our diet. I'm a big believer in having a very healthy relationship with food, and that means to me not having those no-nos, those like just avoid at all costs. Because I want to be flexible, I want to be tolerable, I want to be able to have a good time and be able to eat something and not throw me way off track. So I think the overarching goal for me is over the long haul, if I'm spending more days eating better, making better decisions than I am having, too many beers in the weekends or, hot dogs at the golf course or whatever, then I'm going to be better in the long haul. But, I think there's a lot of stress that comes along with too many fear-based things about eating too much of this and that. There are some people though, like we try to minimize bread and simple carbs. That's probably one. Simple carbs are a pretty simple one to minimize, and bread as a whole, because it just nutritionally is pretty bankrupt. It doesn't do a lot for you.
Yeah.
There's much better forms of carbohydrates you can take in that'll actually benefit you. But that I guess that kind of is the way I look at it. But there are certain times a year where I'm training and I'm getting ready for something and I'm trying to lean out, whatever. And then my focus is more like, making sure everything I put in my body has
Purpose.
helps me with energy, has a purpose. And when you start looking at it like that, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to cut stuff out.
Now, let's say, to break this down for like the audience too, if we're getting to a group of people and we're like, hey, the people watching this, where do they start? Because like if they're interested in fitness, or if it's not even fitness, they're like, hey, I'm a 45-year-old guy. I'm doing a couple big hunts this year. A little worried about what shape I'm in. This whole thing's intimidating. I don't know, what am I supposed to be taking? Obviously not melatonin, but no, I'm just kidding. But what am I supposed to do? Where do I start? What would you tell them?
Usually it's a good conversation to have with somebody. Ask them a bunch of questions. I think for me, where I try to steer people is just getting started, because just the thought of where do I start? I'm out of shape. I haven't been active in so long. It's overwhelming. And then if you have goals, but you're just not sure what your plan is to get there, it can be overwhelming. And so people get kind of paralyzed by that. And I think the main thing that I try to get people to get their head around is the best thing you can do for yourself is just get started with little things every day, building a foundation of good habits, good routines every day. And so that's different for everybody, because some people who are so far removed from a good diet and healthy exercise routine and the things that are really, propelling their body in a healthy way, for them, they have to start small and they have to start intentionally. But there's other people who, their routines and their diet, it's not so bad, but they still feel like, where do I start with supplements? And so it can be different. I think for outlining your goal, finding your goal and finding your why is really the main place for anybody. And that's always been important and helpful for me. And when I say finding out your why, I mean, there's literally a little exercise that I've encouraged people to go through of the 5 whys. Ask yourself why 5 times, and literally you write it down. You have to physically write it down. Ask yourself, why do I want to get in better shape? Because, I want to feel better in the mountains this year on this hunt. Well, why do you want to feel better in the mountains this year? The point is, with every why and every subsequent answer, you're drilling down to the real core reason as to what motivates you. Because if you stop at that, like, well, I want to look better, or I want to feel better, it's easy to kind of give up on your routine or your program when things get tough, when you don't really have like your arms around the whole motivation, the whole purpose. And like I've read some people's that they want to lose weight, and really what it comes down to is it starts with, I just want my clothes to fit better, or whatever is, I want my kids to look up to me more, or I want my wife to find me attractive again, or I want work to go better for me because I feel more, successful at work when I feel better about myself. So those are the things that once you kind of like say that stuff, it's a lot harder to allow yourself to fall off the wagon when, your routine gets tough.
Absolutely. For those starting out too, like coming to Wilderness Athlete for the first time and they've discovered their why and what they're doing, I know that you guys have specific stacks that are two main 28-day programs to kind of get people on track, and one of which is geared towards fat loss, one of which is geared towards muscle gain and strength conditioning. And they come with workouts and they come with supplements. And I'm going to do both as like a dedication and a kickoff to this too. We have a big moose hunt coming up in September, or October, at the end of October. So what I'd like to talk to you about is the 2 different stacks, what's in them, and why those ingredients and why those supplements are important, and what I'll be looking at. And then also what I can count on. Basically, my plan is to do the 28-day program for fat loss leading up to the moose hunt. Then after the moose hunt, get through that, and then do the strength and muscle gain one after, to really kick this off and kind of track my progress and then share it with the audience as far as what I'm seeing and really dedicate myself to it. And sometimes too, it's obviously good to have the right ingredients. It's good to have the right scientific team. It's good to actually believe in the product you're taking, because it's not just bullshit. But at the same time, it's also a big motivator. Like if I'm going to take it, I have to do the thing for it to work. And some people I find that helps them. And that's part of the excitement for me on the whole thing, is to get me. Sometimes you just get in even if you work out all the time, you kind of get in that habit of just doing the same things, and this helps mix it up. So for me, I wanted to talk to you about the 28-day rebuild program, and kind of the supplements that are in that. Obviously, I'm going to follow the workout routine. There's a workout routine that you guys provide for both the gym and at home. So if you can't go to the gym, this is what what you'll do. But I'm going to follow that routine to a T, and I'm also going to take the supplements. So what supplements can I anticipate being in that one?
Yeah. So the rebuild and the reboot, forever, for years, we had really just what would be referred to as the reboot, which is help people with muscle management, lose body fat, maintain muscle mass. And we have a stack of supplements between the two that you're talking about, reboot and rebuild. They are similar with some differences in the proteins.
Reboot's the fat loss one, correct?
Reboot is the fat loss one, yeah. And that's probably, it's the more popular one for sure, because I think most people feel like if they can be lighter, they can lose some body fat, they can have more energy, they can sleep better, all that stuff. That begins that cascading effect of just good habits, and you're going to feel better. The rebuild, the more muscle performance building one, was really our answer to the litany of questions we got for years from people that were like, well, there's, those guys that just, they could eat like shit for weeks and they don't gain an ounce of body fat.
That's Ryan.
And they're just
got
like,
his hand up.
Yeah. They're just like, I want to come up a little bit. I want to get some muscles. I want to feel stronger. That's what that one's focused more on. There are a lot of similar products. So in each, you're going to have Hydrate and Recover, Energy and Focus. Those are two staple products for just about any workout routine, especially Hydrate and Recover.
Talk to us about Hydrate and Recover, because I might be wrong, but it seems like that's like everyone knows about that product from you guys. It seems like it's like your main go-to. Will you talk to us about it?
It is. Yeah, Hydrate and Recover is definitely our hallmark product. There's so many benefits to adequate hydration. And really, I think what put Hydrate and Recover on the map a long time ago, when our company was founded, was before it, there really was really shitty options out in the market for an adequate hydration supplement. Gatorade ruled the world forever, and they did it with 60-year-old hydration science. Heavy sugar, a ton of sodium, practically no potassium, no magnesium, and really that's it. And they sent you on your way with food coloring, and at the time when there was really nobody else doing anything different, a lot of people thought that was the best. Modern science, modern studies and research have shown that there's a lot of things our body needs more that really fully hydrate us, and that's what Hydrate and Recover has. We use, again, some adaptogenic herbs like Schisandra extract that really help. I mean, anytime you're dehydrated, anytime you're in a physically dehydrated state, your body tends to be under some physical environmental stress. That helps with that. We also use like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which is not only great with delivering fluid to the various tissues around your body, which is also very important for, physical performance and energy, but it's great for your immune system. We only use 5 grams of sugar, which, most hydration drinks out there are 20 plus. And there's really no benefit to that amount of sugar other than to make it taste better. The 5 grams we use has a very specific use. 5 grams is about specifically what is necessary to create what this process, and we can get into the weeds on this. I won't get too deep, but it's called active transport. With a little bit of sugar, you create a window of opportunity within your insulin system to move these nutrients into your blood much more rapidly.
So there is a slight benefit to it in that case.
There is. Yeah, absolutely. Like carbohydrates do have a benefit. I mean, our glucose is our body's main energy source. So there is some benefit. The problem becomes when you're, 15, 20, 30 grams of sugar, and that's what a lot of products are. We also add branched chain amino acids. Our electrolyte balance is very specific. So sodium, potassium, and magnesium are in a very delicate ratio that really deliver the right muscular blood hydration levels that really help you feel just replenished quickly. So there's a lot of things going into it that make it really just a home run product that a lot of people, they just feel it. They know it when they feel it, and it tastes really good, naturally flavored. So yeah, hydrate and recover. I mean, you can have the best diet in the world, have the best supplements in the world, but if if you're dehydrated when you're trying to lose weight or build muscle or do anything, you're dead. So it all starts with being really well hydrated. Our formulator always says, like, a hydrated cell is a healthy cell, and on a cellular level, muscle, everything, you want things to grow, you want things to be active, you need things to recover and repair. Those cells need to be adequately hydrated, and that doesn't just mean water. That means a lot of other good stuff in there too.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah.
So that's hydrate and recover.
Yeah.
That's kind of the staple of the whole
So that's
thing.
a staple. Yeah, energy and focus is again in both. The core differences between the two is, like, with the reboot, you're going to take Lean Life, which is a metabolism booster. It really helps you start shedding some unwanted body fat. Also helps curb some appetite. That uses God, I'm totally spacing on, like, supplement or ingredient names today.
Lean
Gosh,
Life has caffeine in it too, correct?
It does. It does. Yeah. Yes, it does. It also has a very key ingredient that has been used for years in diet routines.
And
There's
you take Lean Life directly after you eat, is that right?
No, you're going to take it before.
Right before?
So you're going to take
Okay.
it twice a day. Yeah, before breakfast, before lunch. And
Okay.
everybody is a little different because of their caffeine tolerance. Um, one of the chief ingredients in that formula is Garcinia gambosia. There's kind of like four tiered benefits to it, but it does help mobilize stored fat cells. So that's what people kind of tend to struggle with. And if you look at someone who's overweight and has, some problems, they're typically overeating, they're snacking, they're not very active, and they're having a tough time because they've spent so many years with just a lot of compounded stored body fat that it's just they're having a tough time tapping into that. That is a big aid in that whole process. So Lean Life's a big part of that. Then we also give you our meal replacement shake, which is a pretty well-rounded macro shake. It's 200 calories per serving, gives you the right protein, fat, carbohydrate breakdown. Truly, you're going to replace 1 to 2 meals a day with that, which is an adjustment for some people. For other people, it's great. But most of us eat far more than we need. And I think calorie restriction should be a part of a lot of people's plans when they're dieting. The balance is, if you restrict calories too much, but you're not also giving yourself the right nutrients around that, you're going to start cannibalizing your muscle tissue for energy. And so that's where we come up with that term muscle management. That's where we want people to start losing body fat, but not sacrifice the valuable hard-earned muscle that we have. So those are some of the big differences. There's Lean Life, multivitamin, green infusion, that are all just a part of a very well-rounded diet there. And there's all this information is on our website. The Rebuild, we give you a brute strength instead of meal replacement as a protein shake that has a little bit of creatine in it, added branched chain amino acids. Really helps with muscle volumization, muscle recovery after heavy weight training. We give you Midnight Build, which is a post-workout recovery that you take right before bed. Helps with blood flow throughout the night. Helps with natural testosterone production. So that's a key part of it as well. And then we give you Brute Force, which is our pre-workout. So there's more products, and the Brute, and that one's a little bit more expensive because you're getting more. There's more products in that. But it is tailor-made for the guy who's trying to, put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle.
So talk to me about the greens. What's in those, and what are the benefits of those?
Yeah, green infusion actually pretty quickly became like one of our most popular products during this whole pandemic. So it's a super greens blend. So they're in each scoop of green infusion, you get the equivalent, the phytonutrient equivalent of 6 servings of fruits and vegetables.
Wow. Jeez.
Most
Stuffed in one
yeah.
scoop?
Right. Yeah. Most most people don't do that. And when I say phytonutrient equivalent, that's important because that's really what super, people always tell you, eat your fruits and veggies or mainly your veggies. The phytonutrients are these just very unique vegetable nutrients that really only exist there. Like it's hard to isolate them otherwhere else. You don't find them in nature anywhere else. And very few of us actually have the time, the resources, or energy to get 6 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. It's just very hard to do. So this is a convenient way to get that in. There's also probiotics in there as well, and prebiotics, which just help with a healthy gut microbiome, helps with a lot of things when it comes to energy, bloating, and immune system function. So, to be honest with you, for years we had just good old fashioned green infusion, and the benefits far outweighed the cost of how it tasted, because it just tasted kind of like alfalfa, and you'd add it to your protein or a drink that you kind of mask the taste. But a couple of years ago, we made 2 different flavors. So a strawberry acai blend of that, and then a chocolate mint. And those taste amazing. You could drink those just over ice, and they taste kind of like a tea, sort of. But before, people used to just kind of take them like a wheatgrass shot if they didn't want to mix it in with a shake. But the benefits are really great, and they're huge when it comes to your weight loss goals, because a lot of people see a ton of weight loss when they can reduce just like their bloating. And green infusion does help with that. It really does help balance the gut microbiome you have going on inside. And a lot of people don't realize how just kind of bloated they are on a daily basis, and you can improve that.
So these 2 stacks are available on your website, wildernessathlete.com, for those of you who are interested in going on and trying that. I believe our discount code, it'll be on the screen now, but there's a discount code that you guys can use. If you're listening to this podcast, you can use our discount code in order to get a discount on those stacks. But check those out. Reboot and rebuild. Go ahead, Ryan.
I got another question. So for someone like me who fully clothed weighs like 150 pounds, what products?
It's all hair weight too. He's got long hair.
Yeah, no. And I'm pretty lean. What would you recommend for someone like me who's just trying to get bigger, essentially?
So, are you working out?
No, I'm doing nothing.
Okay. So the first thing is, supplements aside, we'll get to that later. Diet and exercise with anything are going to be huge. Like what you eat and how you're lifting weights or how you're exercising are going to be paramount. So once you get to the phase when you want to start lifting weights and exercising, our programs with this have some they're great, well-rounded, 30-day programs of weightlifting, and they scale throughout the week to really give you that full workout. But, I'd suggest when you're trying to gain muscle is you got to start lifting outside your comfort zone. Heavier weights with the right measured approach to that, taking your muscles to failure. If you're kind of new to that whole realm, I would highly suggest just finding a program, just a weight training program. So you don't have to think so hard about it. It'll save you a lot of time from just wasting, hours in the gym when you could be more calculated in like 30, 45 minutes with a good program. Increase your protein intake too. So on the diet side of it, take in far more protein. You should be, somewhere around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And that can be challenging for some, but 150-ish pounds, that you could do that pretty quickly, especially if you're using a really good protein shake.
And wild
so
game.
Increase your protein. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's some of the best because it's lean. You know where it's coming from, and it's pretty rich in protein too. So, but as far as supplements go, Brute Strength is it's one of my favorite protein shakes we make. It really, really reduces next day soreness. We have 3.5 grams of creatine in there that really helps deliver more fluid to your cells. And again, back to that, a hydrated cell is a healthy cell, functions well, it recovers faster. And one of the biggest limitations for people when they're trying to gain weight and muscle is just kind of getting through that soreness, that 3-4 day in, I'm just sore as shit. I can't get out of bed. And you think I'm going to take a day off, and then it just gets kind of worse. And so everything you can, like my whole focus and a lot of our focus in the company when you're talking about performance gains and weight gains is really focusing on recovery. That's where a lot of people, I think, like lose out a little bit, is they focus so much on like how much energy they can get out of their pre-workout and how much amino acids they can pump into their system to get the most performance out of their muscle in the gym, when really your gains are coming from your recovery phase. If you're not, the faster you recover, the more adequately you recover, the faster you're going to get to where you want to be and see results, and the more performance you're going to be able to put into the gym the next day. So that's why like Midnight Build is like that nighttime recovery aid, brute strength. And brute force, our pre-workout is my favorite pre-workout. I mean, since I've been in high school, I've taken every pre-workout under the sun. And the thing that we really intended behind the formula is it's a pre-workout you can take every day. There's so many pre-workouts out there that are just so high octane with too much caffeine. They put far too much like niacin in there that give you that kind of flush, way too much beta alanine that it kind of burns you out. You kind of get fried out. You're in 2-3 days a week and you just feel like, a little bit fatigued. Brute force is not that way. It gives you the right energy, gives you the right pump. We use some really unique adaptogenic herbs in that as well that are unique to helping physical performance. Mumio is you guys should take a look at Mumio if you're ever interested in learning about. So it's a really cool herb. It's a resin really found in like super remote parts of Eastern Russia. And the Soviet Olympic team used to use this, a long time ago for anabolic performance. And it's a natural product. It's very high in fulvic acid. If you want to learn a little bit more about it, learn about the balance between humic and fulvic acid in our system. But Mumio, we use it in both our pre-workouts. We have a pill form and in our powder, otherwise known as Shilajit. It's not like Shilajit is the other name for it, but so those are the three products I would look at. But it's got to start with the right diet and just kind of the right approach, in the gym too.
I was athletic in high school, and then adulthood and all that came along. And
well, you act like you're not athletic, but we go on hikes for 15 miles
at
a time and stuff like that.
I'm a fit person. I'm not like sitting on the couch. I'm active.
Yeah.
I would just like to see myself bigger.
Get jacked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude. Yeah,
well,
that's natural.
When I was doing wrestling in high school, like I looked great, but that all went away once I left school and kind of just got busy with life. Maybe Kyle and I should do the transformation series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing both 28s. So I'm doing the fat loss one first, and then I'm doing the muscle build one second, because I want to go through both. If we're going to recommend it, I want to go through both. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that and documenting it and everything. Yeah. Be pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a natural feeling. I think every man out there can relate to just wanting to feel bigger and more muscular. Just you feel confident. Muscle burns more calories. So, a lot of people, I think the mistake that a lot of people get into when they're trying to lose weight and body fat is they just spend too much time on the treadmill and cardio. Engaging your muscle, using your muscle, doing a lot of resistance and strength training is a far more efficient way at actually burning calories as well. And it's fun too. It's way more interesting and engaging. But you tend to like who you see back in the mirror at the same time.
Yeah. As far as products for the actual Moose Trip itself. So one of the things I found on your website as well is you had a product for if you were in trouble with dehydration, like you needed to be rescued basically. And talk to me about the difference between that and your regular replenishing supplement.
Yeah, good question. It's like our newest product, and we haven't been getting a lot of questions about it. It's called Rescue Hydration. It's intended to be added to Hydrate and Recover. So it's not, it can be drank by itself, of course, but to get the benefit of it, the full benefit of it, and what its intent is to be added to Hydrate and Recover. When you're in a dehydrated state, like when you're kind of facing heat exhaustion, heat stroke, I mean, when you start to feel those kind of dehydrated cramp feelings, when I think a lot of people out there are familiar with it. Yeah. And honestly, if you're hungover, it's an incredible hangover cure. But the what it has in it and what makes it special is it's basically it doubles the amount of sodium and potassium. I mean, it's not exactly double, but it does drastically elevate the sodium potassium levels you get. We also add in aloe vera gel powder and coconut water powder. Coconut water powder has more potassium in it. The aloe vera gel powder in there as well is really good on the gut when people feel nauseous. Like if you've ever had heat stroke or if you're severely dehydrated, a lot of people you get into kind of a downward spiral because you get kind of nauseous. You don't want to drink and you just feel kind of like anything that goes in is going to come up. The aloe vera gel powder in there does help soothe the stomach. So it really kind of quells some of the symptoms of severe dehydration. We also use, again, I'm totally spacing on, it's one of those days.
It's a lot of words. It's a lot of words. You know what it does.
Yeah, no, there's like probably the coolest ingredient, which gets back to Harry Proust, what I was telling you about. Hold on. Oh, astaxanthin. Astaxanthin, we've added that in a couple products, but in rescue hydration, its main use is how it helps your body resist heat stress. There is a really, really cool study that, and I'm not sure we have this published yet, but he was doing a study completely unrelated to nutrition supplements, hydration supplements. It was for some medical program. He had lab rats. He had several groups of lab rats. Some of them were getting placebo. Some of them were getting salt water. One group was getting a certain dosage of astaxanthin. Over the weekend, the air conditioning unit in this lab went out, and this was somewhere like I think it was in Georgia. I think.
Oh geez.
Got really hot over the summer. I mean, over the weekend, they show up on Monday or something came off. They get back to the lab. Every group of their lab rats died from just excessive heat, except for the group that had been getting doses of astaxanthin. It's a very potent antioxidant. It has a lot of benefits, not just resistance to heat stress, but that's its purpose in this formula. So you can take it both as a response to being severely dehydrated, or you can take it preemptively. If I have a kick-ass day ahead of me. There's a lot of benefits to taking it when you have like that 8, 9, 10 mile hike in type of day. And it's going to be hot, you're going to be going through fluids and it's going to be pretty intensive on your body. I've taken it. I tested it this past year in the Grand Canyon when we do our rim to rim hike. You're on your feet all day, moving all day nonstop in the sun exposure. And I had like 2 servings of it. And after each time I had it, you just feel so rejuvenated when your body has that replenishment of those key electrolytes. So it's an awesome product. It's very new. And again, it's not like Hydrate and Recover where it's like that staple where you could take it every day and benefit. This is for that like emergency, that big league day you have of physical exercise. Yeah. So it's worth having, handful of these in your pack for sure on your moose hunt. Cause you get muscle cramps, you get whatever. You got a lot of, when you guys got to pack out that moose, that's going to be big boy work. So it's worth having that.
What else would you suggest in my pack for that trip?
Hydrate and Recover, Energy and Focus packets. You've had our Superman before. Combining hydrate and energy together in that cocktail is awesome.
It's got a different flavor for it too. What is the flavor on that one? It comes in those packets. What's the flavor? It's like
the hero. Yeah. So that's the flavor there is Tropical Fusion Energy and Strawberry Pomegranate Hydrate. That's what we have kind of pre-mixed in those hero pouches.
And that's what that is.
Those are great, right? Too. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So that's a must-have. I have one just about every day of my life. Then our pack-out bars are amazing as well. I mean,
AJ
just
loves
peanut
those.
Butter chocolate chip. Yeah. Who doesn't? They're incredible. Depending on what you guys are doing as far as how you're camping, how you're hunt
We're
style is?
remote camping.
Remote camping. Okay, so is weight and space kind of a factor? Like, I would take a tub of meal replacement protein. Hopefully you guys are going to be eating some really awesome camp food, but sometimes you just want something quick and easy to digest to a good solid protein kick with 200 calories, good fiber and carbs. The strawberry protein shake when you get back to camp or before you leave in the morning if you don't have time or energy to make a full breakfast or something. So I usually always take a tub of meal replacement shake on almost any hunt just because it's convenient and it's lightweight and easy. Depending on the altitude, I'm guessing it's not an altitude hunt,
No.
moose aren't.
No, it's not too bad.
Yeah, so
we're a little higher up though. We're in Maine. I don't know what the exact altitude will be.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything wild. I'll look right now.
I know it's not where we're at now though, because we do go on.
It's much higher. Than
our ears will pop at least.
Yeah.
You're about 1.5 ear pops up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so those are really the staples. I think the thing I always encourage folks to do is once you kind of have a good idea of like what works for you and what makes you feel good on your daily basis and your daily routine, like we have a product called the Good Stuff, which is just daily packs that have multivitamin, fish oil, and probiotic in there. Those are like your daily staples. You take them every day. And we made this bag of the Good Stuff that you have a little bag of those 3 for every day, and it's perfect for on the go in the field because it's like you spend the whole year on a good routine that your body's used to, that you feel great in, and then
you try and jack it up on the hunt.
Yeah, people tend to just their whole diet and routine falls apart when they need it the most, and so we've tried to make some of those products as mobile as possible. So what if you like it at home, chances are you're going to need it and like it even more out there. So it's kind of a good approach.
I got another one.
Okay, Ryan.
Let's hear it.
We get it. You got to work out. What do you want?
No. This one's about the dogs. I grew up doing a lot of upland hunting and always had German Shorthairs around. And you guys have some dog health products. I don't know that I've ever seen products the way you guys are doing them, in the sense that you guys are really like trying to move towards people taking better care of their dogs after hunts. So I guess I'd like to, for the viewers, some better insight on that, because I know my buddy is all about it.
Yeah.
Shout out Isaac.
Shout out Isaac. Honestly, it's really the Canine Athlete line of products really was just born out of like a love for dogs. We have 3 dogs here. One of the owners, Floyd of Wilderness Athlete, he's got anywhere from 15 to 18 hounds that we hunt with. Working dogs, everybody, and we have like 3 to 4 dogs at the office at all times. So we have just
we got one
passion
here.
For
his name's
dogs.
Emu.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you get it. And it made sense to us that we knew we could do more for their health and their recovery and their performance and longevity. We take such great care of our own bodies, when we're making sure we're hydrated, we're making sure our guts are healthy, we're making sure we're doing all these things. But, our dogs who work harder than any of us when it comes to like a day in chasing pheasants or quail or running mountain lions or whatever, they deserve that same support too. And so our formulator, he's a huge dog lover. He has developed some very cool products in the past, and we just began kind of brainstorming, and it took years to actually start not formulating, but we were testing these products a ton because, like the unique thing is like, obviously with humans, there's the placebo effect. We can obviously tell people how it feels on our stomach, how we feel energy wise.
That ain't gonna work
how
with
it
a
makes
dog.
No
placebo effects on dogs.
It
works or
exactly.
No. Yeah.
Which was kind of like the good side, because it's like if it worked, if we saw better behavior, then we knew it was working. We weren't getting some bullshit, I think I feel better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we had to test it a lot with a variety of different working dogs in Montana at kennels, at Floyd's place, to look at like GI response, making sure that they weren't going to, respond adversely. but it's super cool. I mean, there's three products. There's New Dog, which New Dog is like the hallmark of that line. It's both a joint supplement. We have some fish oil in there, which is also good for joints and skin and coat health. And there's other good like vitamins and minerals in there. But we call it New Dog because one of the people that was helping us test it started using this on like I think it was like a 10 or 11-year-old working dog. She was an old Malinois that had been a service dog for years, but had seen her better days. She was working like walking really lethargically, just had a lot of bone issues and stuff. They started giving it to her in a matter of within a week. They said she looks and acts like a new dog, and that's how we named the product. And I've heard that testimony time and time again from folks, and it's like one of the most rewarding things because it's great to make people feel good and do things better in the outdoors, but dogs are just they rely on us for frickin' everything.
Right.
And when you can like literally see your habits of your dog is like if he doesn't want to get off the couch, he's not gonna. But like I remember like Duke, we put my lab down when he was 14 and he was about 11 when we started. He had some of the tests like I was giving it to him, my dad was giving it to him, and he didn't move much. He was a big, like 98-pound lab. We pheasant hunted duck hunted with him for years. Yeah, and he was big, bull-chested English style, lab. And within a week or two, I mean, he had so much more pep in his step. He was getting up, he was jumping up on the couch. It felt like it took years off him, and it's lowering inflammation, giving them the right ingredients to feel some energy. But one of the main things is lowering that joint inflammation, that chronic joint inflammation. So that's been a huge product. Hydrate and Recover. We have Canine Hydrate and Recover, which is vaguely similar to our Hydrate and Recover, just with different ratios to some of the ingredients because a dog's metabolism is quite a bit different, but their needs are very similar physiologically, like their hydration needs. And then we have Canine Pro, which is a probiotic.
Are these all pills, powders, or how are they ingested?
Powders.
Okay.
Powders. So you add it to their food or water. Like I'd say the Hydrate and Recover is most often added to their water because if you're trying to hydrate your dog.
Yeah, it's got the vibe.
Yeah, it's got that thing going to her. Yeah. What a lot of guys do is like if you're pheasant hunting or chukar hunting and you're going to be putting in a lot of miles, you just fill up like a shaker bottle or whatever, or like a squirt bottle, pre-mixed with that. And so when how dogs are, like working dogs, like sometimes they don't want to drink, but like you can literally kind of like shoot some in their mouth when they're hot and breathing. So that works pretty well. But the New Dog and then the Canine Pro, you just add that to their food.
Are they flavored?
Yes. I always confuse the flavors because one is like it's butter and fat, and they're like they taste disgusting. I know. We taste tested them.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, we taste tested them before we released, like right before we were having an office like party, Christmas party or something like that.
Dog food party. I love it.
Yeah, there was a few cocktails going around, and we dared one of our guys to we mixed them up, and he tasted it, and he ended up vomiting because it was just repulsive.
Man.
But dogs freaking love it because it tastes like it's actually, I've heard from some folks like they tend to not want to eat their food unless they sprinkle that on it.
Really? Okay.
It's pretty good tasting stuff to them apparently. But yeah, it's like I think one's butter, fat, and then one has like liver flavoring in there, something like that.
I knew a girl with breath like that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. So you kind of have something for everything, and adding the dogs in there, we can definitely relate to that. And a lot of people that hunt and fish and stuff have that. They're always looking for the next best thing to make their hunting companion a little bit more comfortable. But
yeah, like here in Arizona, people are so active with their dogs, hiking, running with their dogs, and so like that Hydrate and Recover can be pretty handy with people who just their dogs, whoever are with them, just to make sure that they're not going to overheat.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I thank you for being a fountain of knowledge and allowing us to just blindside you with every question in the book.
Yeah.
But this is very.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, it's very helpful though, and if nothing else, it's getting to work with you guys and continuing to work with you guys like we have, having a company that puts the science behind it is why we're comfortable doing it and putting our names on it. And I'm excited to go along for this journey with the 28-day plans and the moose hunt and include you guys in that. We also have a buffalo hunt, and I actually just found out we leave on Saturday, and this is recorded on Wednesday, and the podcast is released on Friday. So those of you who are listening to this, we're either about to go to bed and wake up the next morning and leave, or we're already there.
Yeah.
And I looked at the weather, and it's going to be like 92 during the day.
Well, I know about some products.
Yeah, I know, right? But I know what to do now, but it's going to be like 92 degrees, and we're buffalo hunting and packing.
Oh, that's cool.
Talk about pack out. It's not going to be, this isn't going to be easy. We got to break it down, and the skinning and the amount of work we're going to have to put in to process the meat. I'm going to have to send you some because it's going to be about as good it's going to be about as good and pure as it gets.
Yeah. I hear you. I've had buffalo just a handful of times. It's amazing meat. It's really good.
Scientifically, and you'd know better than I, but if I was doing all kinds of Google searches on the meat itself, and according to a lot of scientific studies, compared to all other health meats that you could think of, chicken breast, turkey breast, venison, buffalo not far, I shouldn't say, but it beat everything else as far as like how well we were able to digest it, how soluble the proteins were, how much protein versus fat and lean and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they determined that the buffalo meat was the best meat you could consume. If you're and there's a lot of people that are allergic to a lot of meats, cow and other red meat and stuff, but they can eat buffalo. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's got
one of the things
that
I know about it is I think it's really higher in omega-9s versus like omega-6s, which tends to be more inflammation causing. So I think that's what makes it kind of unique. It's been a while since I think I read a Steven Rinella book actually on his thing called American Buffalo. I think it was the name of the book, and he dove into that, and it was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I'm excited about that hunt too, and having the heat and the exhaustion in there. It'll definitely be a good time for us to put the products through the ringer there too. So
way cool.
I appreciate your time. Again, on the screen right now. For those of you who can't see it, the discount code for the Greenway Outdoors will also be putting it on our story. So if you want to get any Wilderness Athlete products, feel free to get it. And hopefully you get an understanding of why we're comfortable putting our name on a supplement company when that has historically had such a tinge to it, and why we've decided to go with Wilderness Athlete. Continue as things continue to evolve and get bigger here at the Greenway Outdoors. So thank you so much for talking with us. I appreciate it.
Of course. No, thanks for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. You guys have a good day.